Balake.
Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Oh, I done messed up. I didn't even have myself pulled up on the screen. I'm sorry, guys. Ron is right here. Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Guys, today, Scientology attorney. Oh, did I not put my stuff on Do Not Disturb? Oopsies. Good Lord. It's all falling apart. Scientology attorney KENDRICK Moxon once again got his ass handed to him in court. KENDRICK Moxon is the one representing Scientology. He is Scientology's attorney. He is also a Scientologist. Tom Cruise level, folks. OT8, Tom Cruise level Scientologist. So not only is he a Scientologist, but he is also Scientology's attorney representing Scientology in the restraining order proceedings that Scientology is prosecuting against a couple protesters. Today, the one protester, Danny, that issue completely, the hearings finished yesterday. The ruling was issued this morning, and KENDRICK lost. Scientology lost. And, Streets LA, Streets LA, William Good, Scientology audit sounds like might be getting ready to do some protesting outside of KENDRICK Moxon's establishment, which is something, I'm not going to lie, I'm here for that. I am here for that all day and all night. Now, so there's a couple things that I want to do in this video. I want to tell you guys a little bit more about KENDRICK Moxon and what was revealed about KENDRICK Moxon's involvement in silencing Danny Masterson's victims. In particular, in this video, we're going to talk about Jane Doe 1. And what I'm going to share with you is a couple excerpts from the transcript of the proceedings, the preliminary hearing that was done in the Danny Masterson case. There was essentially 3 trials: a preliminary hearing where, the victims all testified just like they did in the trials. Then there was the first trial. Then there was the second trial. What I'm about to share with you is the transcript from the preliminary hearing where Jane Doe 1 is explaining KENDRICK Moxon's involvement. And the judge is so shocked at what she's hearing, she actually interrupts the district attorney to clarify directly with Jane Doe 1 if she is actually understanding what she is hearing correctly. So let's see. I am going to share this. I'm going to do this style. Let's do it this way. Okay. Mr. Mueller was the district attorney, or the deputy district attorney that was doing the questioning here. And the person answering the questions is Jane Doe 1. Okay. Mr. Mueller says, you were asked about this non-disclosure agreement, right? Of course. I just realized I got to frame this. Jane Doe 1 at the time was a Scientologist in good standing. Danny Masterson still is a Scientologist in good standing. And well before there was a criminal trial, there was actually an orchestrated civil settlement, orchestrated by Scientology, civil settlement between Danny Masterson and Jane Doe 1. Now, this was orchestrated by Scientology in an effort to keep Jane Doe 1 from coming forward to the authorities. And also, any Scientologist or former Scientologist will tell you there is no way in the world Scientology would have allowed or arranged for this civil settlement if Scientology had not, through its own internal proceedings, verified that Danny Masterson was guilty of these crimes. Okay, anyone with experience in this area will tell you that. Okay, so that is the non-disclosure agreement that's being referred to here. It was a settlement, and of course, all civil settlements usually come with NDAs. I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm sure it's not all of them, but it's usual. Okay. Okay, so Mr. Mueller says, you were asked about this, the non-disclosure agreement, right? Yes. How old were you at that time? 27 or 28, I believe 28. And this was a point in time after you had heard the news that the DA's office had declined to file charges on your 2004 report. Is that correct? Yes. Was there any involvement by the Church of Scientology in your signing that NDA? Yes. Tell us how so. The attorney for Scientology, his last name is Moxon. I believe it's KENDRICK Moxon. Mr. Moxon arrived Mr. Mr. Moxon arrived at my parents' house. Oh, fuck. See, I already know what it's going to say. Okay. Mr. Moxon arrived at my parents' house in July or August of 2004, and he came with a letter, a handwritten letter from Danny Masterson, and he handed it to me, and he told me to go outside and read it and give it back to him, and he needed to speak with my father. He needed to speak with my father privately. He said that they were going to work out a way for my father to keep his daughter. There's a typo here in the transcript, but I'm telling you, I'm reading what I know it says. They're going to work out a way for my father to keep his daughter, unlike Mr. Moxon, who lost his daughter while I was friendly with him, and that there was a declare waiting for me. Okay, there's more that I'm going to share with you, but I want to clarify the significance of Kendrick Moxon telling Jane Doe 1's father that they were going to work out a way for him to keep his daughter. You might infer that maybe Kendrick Moxon's own daughter had also been expelled from Scientology, and that maybe Kendrick Moxon had to disconnect from his own daughter, and he didn't want that to happen to Jane Doe 1 and her father. But you would be mistaken, because Kendrick Moxon's daughter worked in the Sea Organization at Scientology's international management base under the supervision of David Miscavige, and she killed herself by going into a high voltage underground electrical bunker and grabbing the terminals. So when Kendrick Moxon says he wants to work out a way for Jane Doe 1's father to keep his daughter, you have to understand that Kendrick Moxon's daughter was literally dead at the time that he said this to Jane Doe 1's father. This is a guy whose own daughter killed herself working under David Miscavige. And he is still there giving Scientology money and doing their legal work for them and harassing former Scientologists and harassing protesters. And this is one of the reasons Streets is talking about going and protesting outside Kendrick Moxon's place of business, or even his house, perhaps, for all I know. Okay, there's more. This is not the part that the judge was particularly interested in. It's what comes next. Okay. So the judge goes, I'm sorry, there was a what? And she goes, there was a declare. The judge says, what is a declare? She says, it's an expulsion, a declaration of a suppressive person. A declare of suppressive person was waiting with Julian Schwartz at the Blue Building. It was sitting on his desk. It had been approved by, again, there's a typo here. It had been approved by, they call it the IJC, the International Justice Chief. That's the last step. He said, we're going to see if we can't work out how you cannot lose your daughter. So when I went outside, they spoke. And then when I went into my parents' office off of the pool, he was looking for me. And I came back and he asked for the letter back, the handwritten letter from Danny Masterson. And then he told me that Julian Schwartz would be calling me to come in. And I had spoke with my father, and I had until a certain date to bring a non-disclosure agreement to Julian Schwartz in exchange for my suppressive person declare to not be issued publicly. And I would be soft declared. Again, there's a typo here. I would be soft declared, not officially declared. I could stay in contact with my parents because of my parents' donations to Scientology. This was a favor to them. And this is where the judge steps in. I'm sorry. Let me see if I get this straight. You were told that basically, and I'm trying to get this in a nutshell to see if I understand it correctly. There was paperwork that you would be declared basically a suppressive person by Scientology, and therefore you would lose your family and friends and everything unless you signed the non-disclosure agreement. You had to bring the non-disclosure agreement in exchange for the suppressive person declare paperwork, correct? She says yes. And the court says, and at the time that you were presented with this, there was an attorney for Scientology present telling you this, but you did not have your own attorney? And she says, no. The court says, is that correct? Am I understanding this? And she says, correct. I did not have, yes. The court says, okay, continue. So I'm gonna share a little bit more of this with you, but people who know better than I on this subject have said that it is a pretty egregious offense, legally speaking, professionally speaking, for Kendrick Moxon, an attorney licensed with the bar in the state of California, to be representing Scientology in a situation like this with the other party not having any attorney present to represent them, especially using this sort of undue influence, the threat of familial disconnection, the very veiled threat from Kendrick Moxon himself, that if we can't come to some sort of an agreement here, you're going to lose your daughter. Your daughter will be as dead to you as my actual dead daughter is to me. And that it's actually a pretty egregious legal violation, is what I'm told. Okay, let's see what else we have here. The DA, Mr. Mueller, continues on. Okay, so do you know whether a declare order was ever placed on you by Scientology after this? And she says, only verbally from some former friends when I'd run into them at the grocery store, or if I got hired for a job, I would get, yeah, I'm aware, even though there's nothing written, I would get a lot of times that I am aware. And it says, do you know why that was placed despite you entering in to this NDA? And the answer was, did I get that out of sequence here? Hold on. Oh, I see. The question was, do you know why that declare order was placed on you despite entering into this NDA? And the answer was, because I had gone to the police. And then the judge says, well, that calls for speculation. The court will allow it, not for the truth of the matter asserted, but to explain the witness's then existing state of mind. Mueller says, today there was information you had intentionally withheld from the police on one occasion, correct? And that's where she says, yes. He goes, okay, when was that? When I walked into the LAPD in June of 2004 to report the rape. He says, okay, what information was it that you did not provide? Or I should say, what information was it that you intentionally withheld? She says, I intentionally withheld the parts that involved the Church of Scientology. Why did you do that? Because I wanted to be able to stay in touch with my parents. And I thought that if I didn't implicate Scientology and turn over some documentation, for example, her non-interpolation order, and if I redacted the names of who I sent my knowledge report to, so that it did not say David Miscavige on it, and it did not say Celebrity Center International, and it did not say Scientology, I thought I would earn favor in the church and they would go easier on me. And that was it. That was it. So when people are going to protest outside of Kendrick Moxon's place of business, or even outside of his house if it's legal. I don't know what the rules are. Keep in mind, it's not just his shenanigans in the courtroom that should earn him that honor. It is his involvement in silencing Danny Masterson's victims and threatening their families and keeping them from going to the police. To protect a serial rapist, more accurately, to protect Scientology, but to protect a serial rapist in the aim of protecting Scientology, it is horrible. There is something else that is worth discussing from, by the way, I am going to be interviewing Dorothy White, the attorney. She represented Streets LA, William Good, in his restraining order proceedings with respect to Francois Costa, the owner of La Poubelle. And Dorothy White was also representing Danny in his restraining order hearings. And we're going to be doing a chat on Monday or Tuesday after the weekend. But after court got out today, I got a text from William from Streets, and he said, "Hey, there's actually something really important that came up in the proceedings, and nobody's mentioned it yet." And it is, he said, there was a proposal from the Los Angeles City Council, City Commission. I don't know what they have out there. There was a proposal to create a protest buffer zone around places of worship. And the vote on this proposal was the can was kicked down the road a little bit. I've got to find the actual date of the new vote on this. But, and this is something that was proposed, not specifically to protect Scientology. It's something that is proposed. It's something that has arisen out of a lot of the protests that have been going on surrounding the current Middle East conflict. And when news of this proposal broke, it was pretty clear that Scientology was definitely going to benefit from this. And William told me that Kendrick Moxon mentioned this proposal twice in the hearings. And so I just wanted to reintroduce, or on my channel, it's actually the first time that I'm talking about this. So I just wanted to familiarize everyone with this, because there will be some sort of a call to action for, and I'm going to ask William what that call to action should be. I don't know I don't know how this thing is calendared. Like, is there a hearing? Is there going to be a day or more than one day of hearings on this, and then the vote will be on this on a different day? Or is it going to be a relatively abbreviated session of hearings and a vote on the same day? In other words, we need to tell people when and where to show up, or when and where to call in with respect to this proposal. But here's what's been reported on it so far. LA County supervisors advanced buffer zones to protect worshipers' patients from protesters. Supervisors approved development of a buffer zone law for unincorporated areas affecting 1 million people. Okay, let's see what it says here. Establishing a buffer zone between protesters outside and the people entering a hospital, medical clinic, religious service, or a school could be the law of the land in unincorporated LA County communities. By a 5-0 vote, the LA County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, this is August 6th, ordered the county council to write a draft ordinance establishing a bubble zone that protects individuals entering or leaving hospitals, medical clinics, schools, or places of worship from unwanted interaction with protesters trying to share their opposing views or offering counseling. The ordinance would make it a misdemeanor if anyone obstructs or blocks another person from entering or exiting the facilities. It would also ban anyone from getting within 8 feet of someone handing out leaflets, displaying signs, orally protesting, educating, or offering counseling unless the person consented. The 8-foot buffer zone would be in effect within a radius of 100 feet from the entrance to the locations. This is incredible. Let's see. It says, even here in LA County, we've seen how intimidation is used to prevent community members from entering facilities to receive essential services. Bubble zones are how we meaningfully protect personal safety. Okay, so that's an advocate for it. The exercise of a person's right to protest must be balanced against another person's right to access and obtain healthcare services. Okay, let's see. If the county ordinance is adopted, the board directed the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to train its deputies in its enforcement. Also, informational forums will be conducted with the county's 88 cities to encourage them to adopt similar ordinances. Very interesting. I'm going to have to do a little more digging into this to understand. First of all, did it say includes only unincorporated LA County or LA County and unincorporated LA County? What I need better understand is if this thing is implemented, if this thing is approved and implemented, exactly and precisely how would it affect the protesters in LA's ability to be outside these buildings? So like the test center, for example, does that mean nobody can stand within 8 feet of the test center door? That's not that bad. People were already standing about 8 feet away from that door. Does it mean you're not allowed to come within 8 feet of a Sea Org member? I don't think that's what it said there. But the fact that it also applies within a 100-foot radius of the entrance, I'm guessing some people might interpret that to mean you're not allowed to stand within a 100-foot radius of the entrance, but that couldn't possibly be what it means, right? So this is something that I need to look into a little bit more to understand exactly how protesters on L. Ron Hubbard Way and on Hollywood Boulevard would be impacted. But I'll tell you what, no matter what the spirit of this new law would be, Scientology is going to demand that the LAPD enforce it to the precise letter. Like, it's just going to give Scientology another reason to make another 100 bogus phone calls to the police. You know what I'm saying? And so this is kind of a big deal. And once I know more about when the hearings have been bumped to, when the vote is, then I'll put it on my community tab, and I'll probably do more than one video about it because got to make sure to get the word out on that. Okay, let's see. Well, let's take a look at the comments real quick. C.O. Bilf, good to see you, C.O. Bilf. Kendrick is so old, he passed the bar before incident 2. Kendrick is so old, Clarence Darrow called him as an eyewitness at the Scopes trial to prove the Earth has been around longer than 6,000 years. That's awesome. Thank you, C.O. Bilf. Gary Mackey's gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you, Gary. Jill Davidson's gifted a channel membership. Thank you, Jill. Daniel Sander gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you, Daniel. And Galen gifted 1 channel membership. Thank you, Galen. Very generous, guys. I appreciate it. Alri XJW. Aaron, your episode on the Aftermath show woke me up from the Jehovah's Witnesses. That is amazing. I'll tell you what, if you want to maybe possibly do a chat with me about this, why don't you shoot me an email at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. I mean, even if you don't want to be on camera, perhaps we'll just chat about it. I would enjoy talking to you about it. Okay, let's see. Nitas Nuke 519. Does it matter if a Scientologist unalived themselves insofar as a Thetan is concerned? No, insofar as the Thetan is concerned, it does not matter. Which is why in a case like the Whitney Mills case, which again, I have to do the updates on the Whitney Mills case. It's wild stuff. The case of Whitney Mills it was a relatively young, about 40 years old Scientologist here in Clearwater, Florida, a couple years ago. Again, Tom Cruise level Scientologist, OT8. And she was having some major mental distress. She did not know what was wrong with her. She went to Dr. David Minkoff, the father of Rebecca Minkoff, famous designer. She's on the Real Housewives of New York right now. And because David Minkoff is a Scientologist, he's not allowed to diagnose her with any actual mental conditions or refer her for any actual mental health counseling or refer her for any medication. So instead, he diagnosed her with Lyme disease. So whatever was wrong with her wasn't getting better. It was only getting worse. She kept saying it was getting worse. She was considered at a risk to herself. So she was put under watch by a few Scientologists, round the clock watch. And eventually, when she wasn't getting better, they actually suggested in a Scientology way that she might be better off just taking her own life and picking up a new body. It really is that bad. Ursula O'Halloran. This is terrible. Jane Doe 1 is so brave. When Aaron gets emotional, so do I. Thank you very much, Ursula. Carla's loving wife. Okay. Wow, Aaron, I'm so grateful for this information. Thank you. Thank you for watching, Carla, and thank you for commenting. Constance June. What starts with California eventually gets implemented across the country. Yeah. Nero James, billion-year SP. It sounds like they're trying to limit our right to protest. Yes, that is exactly what they're doing. Rochelle asks, so the First Amendment no longer matters in Los Angeles? Yeah. Abraham Orich, nothing can supersede the Constitution. That is true. Now, there are a lot of legal limitations to the First Amendment, the right to free speech. There are some, legal limitations to the right to assemble and the right to protest. But it just seems like they do get more and more encroached. Gelson's blue bathroom key. That's a picture of Confident Chris right there. This sounds exactly like what La Poubelle tried to do with the restricted areas for the protesters. Yeah. Anonymous Lens. I thought it would be much worse. 8 feet is not bad at all. The protest would be very doable. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever stop the anti-Scientology movement. Yeah, I want to make sure. I mean, you guys read what I just read, so if you could, I want to make sure that I have read and interpreted this correctly. And I haven't done a video with my lawyer friend Zach in a long time. Maybe I will do a video with my lawyer friend Zach talking about the implications of what the implications would be if this thing was approved and implemented, because I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. Okay, Scott Hotvet. This legislation would absolutely be the start of a police state. It would call for more police to patrol the places they want to protect. Here we go. We got Scientology audit. Streets LA is here. It's going to be interesting when protests begin at Moxon's house, demanding justice for Moxon's daughter. Whoo-wee! Wow. How much pressure will it take to get Moxon to leave Scientology? How much pressure will it take for Moxon to walk across that picket line and join the protesters? That should be the goal, perhaps. I actually know. So I know Brian Moxon's son. We were in the Sea Org together. I'm totally blanking on his name, you guys. Guys, who's Brian Moxon's son? He was married to Eva. I'm look. Is it? Oh no, Brian. I'm sorry. Kendrick Moxon is the dad. Brian Moxon is the son. I know Kendrick Moxon's son, Brian. Knew him in the Sea Org. He actually left the Sea Org. Yeah, that's right. So one of Kendrick's children killed themselves in the Sea Org, and the other one left. And Brian Moxon actually lives here in Clearwater. So I guess there is familial things also holding Kendrick into Scientology. And also, you got to wonder, how much dirt does Scientology have on Kendrick Moxon? How much illegal shit has Kendrick Moxon done for Scientology that they could totally turn him in for? I mean, I guess that would be sort of a Mexican standoff, right? Because whatever they accuse Moxon of having done, Moxon can turn around and accuse them of having told him to do it, So it's probably totally unrealistic for him to leave, but who knows, guys? 20 years ago, people would have said it would have been unrealistic that Mike Rinder would ever leave, or Steve Hall, or Jefferson Hawkins, or Jackson Moorhead, Marty Rathman. Well, Marty went back, so we'll take him off that list. But yeah. So you guys are actually going to Kendrick's house. It's going to be interesting to see when protests begin at Moxon's house, demanding justice for Moxon's daughter. You guys know what Scientology's shore story was for how Kendrick's daughter, Stacy, ended up dying? She just loved animals so much. She was an animal lover. And she saw a squirrel run into the high power underground vault. And she went into the vault to save the squirrel. This is actually the story that Scientology told Kendrick and other people. Guys, Does Kendrick Moxon actually believe that his daughter ran into a high power underground, vault to save a squirrel? Does Kendrick Moxon know his daughter killed herself? Because, by the way, she left a note, and I knew this. One of the Sea Org member who found the note is a Sea Org member that I knew in Los Angeles because he was demoted. They got rid of him. They got rid of the note. They got rid of anyone who knew of the note. They sent them out of the int base and sent them down to work on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And a couple of them went to the RPF back when there still was an RPF. Do we believe Kendrick Moxon doesn't actually know or believe that his daughter killed herself? I think the protesters can probably fix that absence of knowledge. Ken's channel. When I see Moxon, I see Will Ferrell in the other guys. Oh my God. Now that you say it, I totally see it. Clearwater Chad, good to see you. Scientology audit. We will be handing out manila envelopes to Moxon's neighbors. Woo-wee! Guys, I mean, this is exactly, I believe in fighting fire with fire. I am a firm believer in it. And if anyone is worthy of being protested in this way, it is Scientology's freaking attorneys. And this is going to get hot and spicy. I cannot wait. Abraham Orich, Streets LA has OT9 powers. Sign me up. Gary Mackey, I've been watching Key and Peele, and the skit that you have in your intro, it is laugh out loud funny and worth watching. Absolutely. That's why it's there. It cracks me up every single time. Catherine Churchill, sometimes I think Kendrick Moxon is such a bad lawyer in order to pay Scientology back for lying about his daughter. I like that conspiracy theory there. Ken's channel. Aaron, Scientologist believes Xenu dropped bodies into volcanoes from another galaxy. A squirrel story. Slam dunk. Yeah, it's true. Nothing is really too much to believe. Laura NP. Most of the buildings where the protesting happens are located within the city of Los Angeles, which is, an incorporated city. I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Which is an incorporated city in the Los Angeles County. Therefore, that mandate wouldn't apply if passed. So that's the reason why I wanted to give another reading of it, because in Clearwater, there's a big difference between incorporated Clearwater and unincorporated Clearwater. But here's the thing. All these protests that have been happening outside of either synagogues or mosques, are they really happening in unincorporated LA County? Like that seems hard for me to believe. Why would they be passing this thing that if it only applied in unincorporated LA County? But again, I'm just riffing here. I want to actually look into it and make sure I understand it better. Okay, damn it. I feel like there was one other thing. I really feel like there was one other thing, but that's okay, guys. I can always do another video if I remember what it is. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.